Yes, I'm delighted to welcome you on our first meeting of the first season on green production we have in GEM project. GEM project is abbreviation for Green Education in Media, and the project is conducted in the scope of Erasmus Plus program. And the goal of the project is to learn about green production and elaborate didactic materials for students and update our knowledge in the topic because the topic is quite new and we do not have elaborate workshop in this matter. So we want to learn on the case study and on the experience of our guest. And our today guests are Olivier Meidinger. Should I pronounce it well?
Well, I will change it after it.
Okay. And Natalia Mleczak and Rem, what is your family name, please?
Hello, Rem, hello.
Hello. Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
we have today three speakers dealing with hi Sophie, with production design. The most experienced our guest is Olivier, and we have also the Polish perspective on the issue, and experienced Natalia, who is dealing with different films, fields because Natalia is also set designer in the theater and in video music shows. So this is the quite a large scope. And we have a raising specialist, yes, our students, Rem, who is representing the new generation of the set designers. So we will have these three perspectives on the topic. And I will be happy to leave the floor to Olivier. Yeah.
Yes, hello. I don't know, with so many countries, I would like to say in all the different languages, hello to everybody. So as you can hear, I'm a French guy. I'm living in Germany for quite 31 years. I'm one of the first Erasmus. I was coming to Germany in '92, and I guess Erasmus is existing since in 1989, as I remember. So it was one of the first guy who was coming in another country and tried to live there. So I'm quite proud of it. I'm in the same time a production designer since 25 years. And I was working quite in a lot of countries around the world, but sometimes some producer was saying I'm a kind of production designer without border, because I went from Saudi Arabia to Croatia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and to Morocco and Europe, of course. So I was working in several countries, and I was trying all the time to try to respect the people, to respect the environment. And it's why probably I'm coming here now after 25 years to speak a little bit more about the Green Art Department. In the same time, I'm in several associations because I have the feeling that as a production designer, in a way, when you are over 40 or 50, as I am, we have to share our knowledge, and we have also to defend what we are thinking, what is our work. And it's why I'm in the French ADC, I'm in the German VST, and on the European, we have an European association, Arsenico, and I'm trying to work on the green on all this level. So now I will share something just to a little bit to, it will not be complete what I will explain. It's just to try to say, okay, where I am with the Green Art Department, what I know. Sometimes I will not know everything, and sometimes there is something what I know. So I will share something with you. Wait a moment. Department. Yes. Yes. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can see it clearly.
Thank you.
Even we have Katedra Sztuki Zrównoważonej. I don't know if Polish people can repeat this, but
well, I was knowing. I'm just trying, to integrate me. I know there are several countries, but we have it in English and a little bit of Polish. So, as you know, in our work in the film, I'm just about the film industry because I know you have a lot of people also from the theater. In the film industry, most of the time we have some small films where we just have to, we are just doing some small stuff just to get it nicer, just to get in better with the story. So it could be very small. And most of the people also in the production, they don't have a clue what we are doing. So it could be small. You have some pictures before, after, or it can be very bigger when we are working in studio. So we are really doing a lot of work. We have to build a lot. Or, for example, we are also building sometimes outside. You can see here it was before. We are doing some sketches, and then we have the decoration. And then you can see there we are building quite a lot. And also, I'm not forgetting, because to do all of this work, you have the feeling I'm alone to build all of this, but we have several people around us. And our team could be from 2-3 people to more than 100 people. Because if you were seeing, for example, the Queen Gambit, or in Westen nicht Neues, it was in the West, the last film from the Oscar, you have more than 100 people. You have quite 200 people working on it. And it's why I'm just saying, if we are speaking about the Green Up department, we have not just to speak about the production designer, we have also to speak about all the crew. And all of these people are very important to change our mind and to see how to be greener. And of course, we were building quite a lot. And I know one of the theme and one of the aim what we have is to think, how can we, in our work, have zero waste? So it's sure I have the 5 R words, but I know, all of you, refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, wrote. And these 5 words, I have it in my mind, but in the same time, I know I have to think on art, because I don't want just to say, I refuse, I reduce, I just this. I have to think with this, with the art, and to work it together. Because if I'm not just choosing refuse and reduce, I know I will get some problem with directors, with overproduction designer, because they will say, I need to create. And if we want to create, I'm not sure we can just do it with zero waste, but we have to think how to do it or to approach this, this point. On the European level, this is something I was trying to explain today, and it's from the Think What I Know. You have several countries, they were trying to do a kind of label about green, how to be green in the film. So in Germany, you have Green Motion. In France, you have EcoProd, but they are working also with the ADC, the French Association, and MAD, the French Association for people working in the art department, and they have an extra label, EcoDeco. In Great Britain, we are Albert. In Austria, Evergreen. What is quite funny, for Italy, Denmark, and Spain, there is a Green Film Lab, and it's in all these languages. I don't know who is working on it. What I just know, this Green Film Lab is in several countries in their own language. And in Portugal, you have a German woman was working in Portugal, and she was doing a new green shooting label. On all of this, I was writing just down what are the associations we're working on. Well, in Germany, with VSK and VODRSD, we were not asked to work on the Green Motion. In France, it's a little bit also the fact, but the French Association are quite very big and very strong to work on the ecology, so they are quite also involved. I was surprised because We Are Albert, quite a lot of people know the We Are Albert, and there was 2 months ago a kind of conference on Zoom or on Teams with the BFDG, and I was really afraid to see that nobody from BFDG was working on the We Are Albert. I know from the Verve, I know nobody who is working on it by Evergreen in Austria. And it's quite the same everywhere. When I'm speaking with Italy, with Denmark and Spain, I know nobody who is working really with this institution who is doing green filming. And it's the same. Most of the people who are working in the association, they don't have a clue how is working the carbon calculators in their country. So one of my work is to try to, and I'm trying to do it in the university, and I try with some colleagues in France and in Germany to say we have to know all of this carbon calculator to know what we are missing and what we want to change. There is just 2 countries where there is really some research. There is in France with the eco-design, and there is Great Britain with the Vector project in Manchester. And I'm quite sure in other countries, what I didn't mention, I was hearing somebody from Finland today, and I will be very happy to know what is happening in Finland. The problem of the statistic, you would like to know, are we dirty production design? Well, I don't know. The statistic from We Are Albert of the Green Motion, it's quite a big mix, and I still don't know if we are 10% or 20% of the film. Actually, I don't have really the statistic I would like to have. I was hearing some numbers, but it was all of this 10 to 20%. So why green art department? Why do we have to be green? I can think we have to, because we have to change our mind. As I was saying, in a lot of countries now you have a kind of a new label, and all the films want to have this label. It's also to get money. And if you want to get money, then we have to. But in the same time, I have the feeling that we have the responsibility, not just as private guy, but also because we have the chief of a big crew. But I know that in my way, and I know it, for example, from Rimelu, who is here with us, that most of the people with them I was working, we are always green. My problem is most of the time we can be greener and more confident. And I was saying that we have to learn to speak about it. And it's why I was writing in big communication, because we have really to bring all our crew in it. And we have really to speak about it. What means the green art department? Well, the first stuff is the eco-design. I know this is something very new. In most of the university, what I know in Europe, nobody is speaking about it. I know it from France. They were trying a little bit to speak about it, but we are just guest star. Like for 2 or 3 days, they are asking us, people who are working on the green art department, to speak with the students for a few days to speak about the eco-design. This is a big issue for the future for all of us, because we have really to learn differently how to build, and we have to speak about it with all the people who are building. It means respect of the material, size, the capacity, the surface. We have to think of the planning for the dismantling, how to separate all the raw materials. And also in all the eco-design, there is also the 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is, until now, we have to think, for example, for the wallpaper, we had to think, I like the pattern. Does the director like the pattern? Can I get it in time? It is in my budget. And now I have to think it has to be sustainable. And I think all of these 4 points, the 4 dimensions, we have to have it in us. And it's why we have to start from the university from the beginning. And of course, we have to think where we are shooting. Do we have to shoot in several locations? What I know is, let's build in just one location all of what we need. Then we will have no transport, then it will be better. It means we have to speak with our team, we have to have a storage, we have to have office, all in the same area. But I'm sure it's all what you know. Also, as I was saying, I have to involve my partners, the construction crew, the graphics, the pop builders, all the people who are working with me. And of course, I have to try to work with better materials. But I'm quite sure in Europe, we have a lot of good materials. Also, I have to support all the place where I can rent stuff, from the furniture, from the props, and I have to try to be regional and not always to ask Amazon or whatever what you have in your country. And at the end, in my thinking of eco-design, I have to think what happens to my set at the end, because I'm sure you are all of the people who are working today, who are coming today with us, we are thinking about the circular economy because we want to recycle, to reuse all what we have. And this is the picture. I have to have it in my mind. If necessary, I have it in my office in front of me. If I'm buying something, if I'm building something, I have to think where it is going at the end. And of course, our aim is zero waste. So I have to think how to do it properly. What we have is some places you have in Manchester, as I was saying, where you have the VETA project. There is some big place where they are working with some comboard. You have the Ressourcerie du Cinéma in Paris, where they used to have this kind of walls, what we can use all the time. But it's just some very, very small example. And for example, what I know from Germany or from France, you have some places, but most of the time, the people who are organizing all of this stuff, they are earning so few money. But it's not really an economical, I'm not seeing really a future in this economical way, because they are really they're just working and have no money for it. It means if the price to rent the place is to rise, then there is no chance it can exist anymore. The hotspots in our art department, well, we have quite a lot of stuff, what we have to take care. But I know that most of us, we are thinking differently. We are thinking, do I need this or not? And it's why I'm saying, well, we have sometimes to know more about the material, what we are using, to speak with our construction department or with the set decoration department. And what we know, there is a lot of stuff. And in all the countries, because I was going to Portugal, to France, to Spain, to Slovenia, and in all of these countries, I had always a possibility to find very good materials. I just have to speak with all my crew. We want to have better wood. We want to have, because this is an example, wallpaper. And this is quite funny in all the research I was doing the last few years. Wallpaper, we have always a feeling, it's paper, but in fact, it's not always paper. Most of the time you have PVC on it. And as I was researching and speaking with some people, because I liked a lot to work with Morris and Sanderson wallpaper, when I was calling them, and because I was surprised on the website, there is nothing to say if it's green or not. And I was writing to them, and then they were answering, of course we are green. We are using recycled paper. We are using ecological colors, but actually it's not so sexy. So it's why it's not on our website. And this is something that we have to always to check if it's really green or not. The same with the colors. Probably we can see more, because what I know in all the construction shop, you can get now so many kind of colors, ecological and so on. So please use it. Styrofoam. It's quite, I will say, I have no option. I would like to have an option to say to you, we can use something else. Most of the people wants to say we can use microfoam or microboard. But I'm sure the people we used to do some figure like this, with like this sculpture, they know you can't use a microfoam. But the problem of the styrofoam is more that it's very practical to use, but it's the end product because we can't recycle it. And until now, I don't know how to find something else, or to say, okay, I don't have to build this, or we have to say, let's try it with CGI at the end. I don't know. I would like to find really a solution, because like most of the stuff, we have to learn how to separate. If I have this sculpture, I want to have stone. It means I have to use a kind of glue, a kind of paint to get it like this. And at the end, all of this styrofoam and with this glue and this paint, I can't separate it. And this is one of the problems. What I use in 3 words is the honeycomb panels. I like it a lot. And I was working with my students also in the film university with it. So you can see it's a very, very light. We used to work with with Rebor technology from Sweden. And at the beginning, I was working, you can see before, after, left, before, after, left. It was just to get some small decoration. But it's very easy. We were sticking it with a little bit tape and we could do it very quick, very simple, and we can reuse it. My construction guy was working it as wood and it was very light. After we were using that, there is one project from Pascal Upprich from the university. And I can say to you, he was building all of this very quick. He was not tired. And strike and disposal, it was just in half a day, everything was away, and lots of people were using the cardboard again. And this one of the last projects we were doing 1 year ago, we were doing a small Chinese snack bar in the university, and we were trying to print directly on the cardboard to get this kind of patina on it. And we were liking it. So for the future, what we are seeing, eco-design, it's one of the more stuff I would like to share today, because I have the feeling we have really to speak about it. We have really to have people working on it and do some research, how to be better in our design. And don't forget the art. Excuse me. Yes, that's it.
Yes, super. Thank you, Olivier. I will move to Natalia to just present some perspective, because a lot of set design is done also by virtual production. Yes, it could be a kind of solution. However, it has some limitation and a lot of limitation we observe. But this is experience also of Natalia, and perhaps Natalia will have some also remarks to your presentation, how this looks from the a little bit Polish point of view, yes, and point of view of another set designer. Please.
Okay, hello. At first, thank you, Olivier, that you share all this with us. I guess, I can sign under like each point. And I totally agree that the direction is, the right one actually like to follow. And like from my perspective, maybe I will introduce myself a little bit, because I'm not only working in theaters, but also like in on commercials and film. So I guess that experience give me like a lot of other information like behind as well. And like from my experience, like from all of it, I would say like theater is such a place where all this like reuse, reduce, and recycle is something that been going on since like ages. Because at first you need to think about sets that needs to be like long lasting, right? It's not for single use. So for example, like in theater, I guess people think a little bit different way. So it's not only about like construct the set that is light, but also that will last for sometimes years. And I guess that's a good approach. Like, but from other side and my other experiences, because like since let's say last year I started working on virtual sets, and I combined like these two, like both options, like the real set with the virtual one. And I guess this is a maybe not a new topic, but I guess it can be put on the list. You know, how to actually think more sustainability, like, you know, how to help like to create the greener set as well. I know that, you know, virtual production, I guess we already talked about this, Marta, that I remember you said, oh, but it takes a lot of energy and, you know, it's electricity behind and all that stuff. But I would say it's still something like to think about, because at first, I guess like the energy consumption is reduced somehow, because when we put all the department all together, like, you know, the light department and other crew, and actually like the screen, of course, taking much more energy and a lot of like things going on behind. But at the end, this is something that can give us, at first, you know, save the carbon emission by creating a lot of sets on let's say on one canvas. Like, we can limit, you know, the set construction, and also, you know, we can somehow control, you know, how much energy we produce as well. And there's like a lot of points, and of course I can go like, you know, with all of them, but I don't know if we want to talk about this right now, or should we listen something, you know, else. But yeah, just let me know.
I think it's a difficult question, because the virtual production goes a parallel way to the regular set production, yes, and you have to, yes, you have to choose what will be the technology providing the set design, yes, because if you use virtual production, you have some element of the set. However, the most of the set is generated by the LED screen. Yes, how is how you treat it as a kind of complementary tool, or is a separate path to create the set?
No, I feel it's more like, you know, a new tool that can extend your creativity, and also, you know, to help you know, the whole production be more friendly in any levels, especially if we are talking about, you know, green productions. It's not that I'm, you know, a big fan only of virtual set. I would rather say that, you know, it's good to somehow, you know, work on two of them, like to combine and treat the virtual set as an extension. But also I work on a couple of projects that we jump, you know, from one location to another, like during like 3 days, and this is something that actually is a game changer, I guess, when it comes to making some limitation of, you know, how big the set is. And this is quite important, I would say. But like from my side, I would never say that, you know, the virtual set is the best option. Also, I guess it all depends on project, but I really like to combine both, because then it feels more like realistic in a way. And also when it comes like to visual models, we can also reuse them. So actually, like, I would say the same kind of like practice, to not spend so much money, let's say when we create like some models, or we buy, or we can download from like the online bank of images. So this is also something that, you know, you can reuse or repaint or change. So you can work on these elements, you know, not only once. So it's also very helpful. But I guess, like, for example, like the best example I would say is Mandalorian, like the film that probably everyone knows, famous because of the virtual production. And like visual set helped them actually like to work on remote deserts, and to not bring, you know, like 200 people on set, like to not buy so many, you know, flight tickets. And at the end, what I read, they said like they limit the carbon and footprints a lot, actually. And this is the best example. But when it comes like to real set, I also try like to reuse and reduce, but sometimes it's impossible, of course, actually, because then of course we need to create a bigger storage. It depends on how many projects I'm working on. And so, but sometimes I see like different approaches from the client side as well, that sometimes they want to keep it something that maybe we can reuse. So this is something new that actually is going on, that wasn't like visible, like, you know, before, I would say some years back. Maybe this is also the economical issue, that, you know, we start like thinking about that, okay, we build a set, but what's the story like, you know, after the shoot is done? And now I would say that a lot of people are asking these questions. So so it's changing somehow. Yes.
So perhaps I will leave the floor to Olivier still to just refer to the virtual production, because you are, yes, working on pan-European level. And how is the approach to virtual production and to introduce it into the set? Because in Poland, I think we have a nice trend or fashion to just use it due to the COVID, to the transport limitation, due to the opportunity it creates. And what is your approach?
This is difficult. We have to think about all the structure from the beginning. So I will say, if I'm working in France or in Germany, there is a huge structure in these countries. So it's helping. It means we have professional people. And if you have some professional people, then it's easier to speak about the transportation. You have some group also, I know it, on WhatsApp or Signal or Team or Telegram, and they are exchanging how to transport, how to do some better conception, how to work together. So I will say in the parallel way, how the production is working, and we are in a good way. And I like the idea that we can do it with more intelligence. We can work on it. So over point, because I wanted to say you were speaking about the Mandalorian, and I'm not agree. I'm really not agree, because this, what you are selling, is the advertising what they are trying to give it to us. They were saying the same for 1899, because what they are not telling you is the carbon footprint for all of the screens. We are never speaking about it. We have to change it a lot. It's a lot of raw materials and rare metals inside. I would like to have a real, and I don't have the numbers of the calculator from the footprint of all of this, because we are just saying from the energy, we have some green electricity. Okay, you have some green electricity, but all you have all around is not green. How many computers did they use? How many people and places? What is the carbon footprint for all the places where they have to cool all the computers? This is something, it's a little bit for me, it's like a gray waste. You know, we are speaking about zero waste. For me, it's a gray waste. Is what you are not seeing is not in the carbon footprint. And I'm not agree. And I'm thinking at the same time, yes, it's good because we don't have to travel. What I know from a lot of production, you still have some people, they were doing they were not probably 100 people. They were going on different countries to get some shots and also to change all the stuff where they are saying in 2 minutes is done. What I know from all the people who were working on 1899, because they were working in Berlin for it, it was taking sometimes days. It was not so quick as in the advertising from the Mandalorian. And I like to have the feeling, yes, it's very quick, I'm just doing it. And you know, it's like when you are working on Photoshop, on Archicad, you need most of the time more time than just, I'm just changing this quick.
But I didn't say that it's like it's super quick. And then I know that, you know, when we speak about Mandalorian, of course, I agree with you. This is like, you know, not green, but gray. But still, when it comes, you know, to, I would say time-wise, because I work, you know, with real set and also with virtual ones. So like from both perspective, I also work on some production that, of course, at the end I said to myself, we could build it up like much more easier, like in 2 weeks, but we spent like 4 weeks to bake the virtual set. But just because the tool itself is changing very rapidly, it means that from year to year, and a lot of has changed since Mandalorian actually worked on VP. So it's also the matter of the tool itself. And now it's quicker. And I guess in the near future, it will be much more quicker. When it comes, you know, to the LED screen, of course, there's like a lot of waste, like, and a lot of like, you know, dark sides, how it's made. But I'm somehow believe that still LED takes much more energy than, you know, the, let's say, the bulbs and all that stuff behind. So I guess there is a lot of production that start, you know, working with VP because it gave some, it makes this more attractive somehow in terms of the budget. So I'm pretty sure it's counted somehow.
I know. In the same way, I'm also for LED because I'm using LED with the car, and I know it's very better if you are using car in a studio. And I'm a production designer. I was an architect. I want to build stuff. I have it in my blood. So I like to build. And I like also, I was working with green screen, with soft drop and so on. And I know the mix is always good. It's what I'm saying. It's like if it's just not just one material what is good, it's a mix of all the technology what we have. This will be the future. And I know, for example, like city from London, there is several streets also in Rome where you can't shoot anymore. But what we're doing, they were doing a kind of scan of all the streets where you can have it as a background. If, for example, if you are just looking at me like in an American way, just like this, and you just need to have some cars like in London or in Warsaw, then you can have it because it's just a small scene, and then you don't need to go anymore to London or to all the of several countries. This is working a lot. But sometimes it's just, I was just overreacting because I just know it's a kind of greenwashing and sometimes a very big problem to know what is a reality, because you have some big enterprise and they are coming to you and they're saying, we are doing the Mandalorian. We are green, green, green. And you're just thinking, wait a minute, is it true or not?
No, of course I agree. It's a greenwashing, and it's like everywhere. I would say that it's good to check up, or like, you know, to test it by yourself first, of course, and it's good to read, you know, all these like ingredients behind. But still, I would say I'm also, you know, production designer, so I love to create things that are like physical. But you know, VP I treat as a kind of, you know, extension. And I believe that it only works good whenever it's mixed, you know, with the real set. Otherwise, it's super flat. Even though, you know, the technique, you know, the programs I'm changing, um, and you know, the style, it's like create and all this like movement, but still, like for you know, the human eye, I believe, you know, that this worked like perfectly as a background.
And perhaps it will be good to hear the voice of new generation. Yes, we
Exactly.
have Rem still with us. Rem, are you here?
Yes, wait.
Yes, and what about your approach to the set production and using LED? And what is your a kind of expectation toward the new set production approach? Yes, because you are already learning how to set green, and older generation have to change from the traditional old one into the more green approach.
Mhm. Actually, I have a different story because I'm come from Syria, and I already worked there with as a stage design in theater and in short films. And then I come here to to have a master now in film university. So in Syria, I don't know if somebody knows. I'm talking before the war, and not now. Now there's nothing there. But Syria is not industrial country. We don't have so high consuming of stuff, plastic or wood or something like that. So we already make a really green production or green something like that, but not with the knowledge. It's just because we don't have other choice. So when I come here, it's the opposite. The people here have everything, and they try now with the knowledge to learn how to go back to green production. If we say go back, because for me it's go back because it's from the past, it's not for the future. So a little bit, I'm confused now a little bit here in Germany about that, because it's normally the people start from 0, 1, 2, 3 to 5. For me, it's the opposite. But I told you why, because we don't have other options. We always use the same coolies blend. Sorry, my English is not so good. We always use other, for example, background from issues. We use it many times. We give it to other people to use it for different things. We don't have a lot of wood in our country, and the wood it's expensive, so we don't throw wood. Never we throw it as always. Never. We use it always. So when I come here, a little bit it's shock for me, because I have to learn a new thing with a new mentality within a lot of stuff, a lot of rohstoff, what we have, the material, how we can recycle, how we can reduce, use it less, the plastic, this and this and this. So now in the university here in Germany, if I would talk about that, it's the system in the university in the cinematography department. It's somehow it's green. saw that, I think, but somehow it's not. We have these places where we can keep or store the old stuff to use it again. We have this many coulisses for we use it many times, and the students use some stuff again and again. But out of the university, really, I don't know how it's going on the system, because I tried just sometimes to work outside of the university with some students or some friends, but I'm not really in the workplace until now. I didn't finish my study until now. Yeah. So, and by the way, I worked with Pascal with this studio from these cartons. It was really amazing. It's very heavy and very light. We can use it. We can cut it very easy, and we can use it for everything, and easy to recycle, and it's very practical. So I don't know how I should tell about my that's.
So this is from one side is to come back to the primary materials we used in our history, which was yes, more sustainable, green, and yes, no plastic. And it's also a kind of innovation how to use different sustainable materials instead of the materials we used to use. Yes, as this carton instead of the wood. So we have these different flows we can adapt in looking a new solution, because I think in this matter there is still a lot of space for experimentation, for innovation, for finding solutions. What kind of examples of such innovation and solutions you can identify? Yes, we have this carton serving as a wood. What is also this invention for this environmental transformation in set production? Do you have any examples?
I don't know if I understand exactly the question, but I can tell something from my. I had a project on the university, and I have to do a big background in the studio to build it, but not from this cartons. It was from the normal blender, this wall, holes, wood wall, and I had a big background of this wall in this wall from stuff from textile. What's the name? What's the right? Olivier, textile of English.
Textile.
Stuff.
Fabric.
Yeah. So I have a very lot of this background. So after the finishing the shooting of the film, there was many people who were interested for this background to use it for normal as a photograph shooting. So because we put it in the group, we have a group for the scenography department, and sometimes the students they put in this group. We have there is from this I don't know material here or here, and somebody needed or like that. So I put it there, and some other places, and many people who they wanted to use it again. And normally we throw it out, this textile, but it was nice to somebody to take it to other studio, use it again for shooting, for normal album photography or something like that. I don't know if I answered the question, but you're talking about the cartoon.
Yes, it's yes, that's recycling. Yes, for other purposes. And where your knowledge about the sustainable materials come from? Because normally we have this tradition to use the material which give better effect in a more artistic way, not really the sustainable one. Yes, and how you find that this material really good looks like and play the role of the different one. It was a kind of know-how you elaborated during your work, or you get some mentors, some people just recommending to try that, or do you have any source for this new knowledge on materials and how to be more sustainable?
Actually, I told you before, I worked before in Syria, so we do that already there. We never put this stuff in Mul Aima and West Kabine or something like that. And in the university, at the film university, we have with Olivier this already this green design, and we focus in this theme. We try to use old stuff, something that's already used, or the students I put in this group. Let's use this again, and this and this and this. Yeah. So it's already, I know I do it already, but now I'm trying to do it with the German way.
Okay. And Olivier, well, where your impressive knowledge on sustainable set design comes from? It's only practice, or you had some I don't know inspiration from other sciences? What is the background?
Well, it's coming from everywhere. It's just I'm working since 25 years in the art department, so with the time it's 25 years work, and I was working with a lot of good people in France and in Germany. But because the film structure in France is quite bigger than in Germany, you have really old people working, for example, in the paint department, in the sculpture department, and they know also the old knowledge from the 20th century. It means if they can't use styrofoam, they will use some gips, they will use fabric, and they're working on. In the same time, you have, in the same way, people, they are very good in their work, and they are trying. Because in France, you are not working with you are not asking an enterprise to build something. They are part of the production. They are all employed from the production. It's why they are working quite nearer from you, from the designer. And it's why you can ask more to do some research. This is one of the biggest issues what we have. There is no money for the research. So it means if I'm trying with a new paint, I'm not sure it will work. If I'm doing a small film, it's probably I can do it, because I will say, okay, if I'm just doing this wall, it's not so much. But if I'm trying to do it on a big studio, on a big movie, I'm not sure it will work. We have probably more time for the preparation, but we have really to think about the cost. Do we have the people who can do the test properly? Because I know a lot of people are using, for example, the WOMP board, what I was working with, and a lot of people, they didn't know how to use it because they wanted to use it as wood. And I'm saying, no, it's not wood. It's just another material. You have to respect this material as it is, but don't try to use it as a normal wood panel. And this is something what we have to change in our mind. I know we can speak about it in the university, it's a start. But in the same time, I know when you are working in the university, you have not a lot of money also in Germany for the small film. So it means we have really to reuse a lot of stuff. We have to think. But when we are doing the step, doing a normal film, it is as we were forgetting everything. Because now we have money, so I don't need to reuse stuff. I can buy right away. I'm going in the shop and I'm buying all the wood I need. And this is something I'm trying to speak with my colleague in France and in Germany. I know in France they are very big, very strong because of the association. But I can say to you, there is 5, 6 people in France working very hard. And in Germany, we are 2, sometimes 3, working a little bit on it. And I'm happy to hear that a lot of people want to do in Poland, in everywhere, but I know we have to structure us.
Yes, it's ongoing practice, research, and how to transmit this knowledge to new generation. It's a great challenge. Yes, and
yes,
even
in the same way you have to pay somebody who's doing the research. And this is one of the biggest issue. If you are looking for the carbon calculator, for example, you have a lot of materials. Nobody is using it because they just know it from the industry. With you using for a film linoleum, pure linoleum, it costs a lot of money. You have to stick it on the floor. Nobody is using it. But we have it in the carbon calculator because we have the coefficient to calculate it. And this is one of the issues where you think, oh, well, okay, you have linoleum, you have some oak, pure oak for the floor. And I think, who is using oak for the floor in the film industry? But they can use it because in the industry you have the coefficient, so they are putting it in the calculator. And sometimes you have the feeling it's not practical in this way. And it's why I'm thinking on all the level, and on the level of the calculator, in the label people, and on our level of the art department, it's just to try on each film to do a little bit research on each film. It's what I'm trying to do. I was working on one film with the Honeycomb. On another film, we were using a product with paint to separate the paint from the water. And it's working a lot. It's very great. You don't need a lot of water anymore. You have not so much, not so much waste in paint. And if you are working like this and you have the painter who wants to work like this, then it's working. But step by step.
Mm-hmm. And Natalia, do you have enough time and space to do this kind of practice research ongoing your project, or you feel this pressure to deliver on time and not having this freedom to experiment with the new materials? What is your experience and approach?
Well, I believe that, I'm trying to educate myself all the time, actually. And as Olivier said, I'm also not working only in Poland, but also abroad. So each time, I approach different group of people, and also different country, different resources. I'm trying to learn something new. And I believe this way it also, helps to educate ourselves, but also I guess since we all, have an access to internet, it's a way much more easier actually, to look for for this information, and it's not, hidden somewhere down deep, but we can do the research by ourselves, but also, practice. I would say that. I felt so many times, but in the same time, it gives me, some good lessons actually, for the next one. So I guess this way we also learn a lot. But I'm this type of person who is always like in the run, and I'm really like open to learn new things. So I'm doing this for my own at first, and then for the project. So
yes, it's long life learning.
yeah.
And not being afraid of just not achieve the results we expect, but yes, learn from the lessons and just progress. Do we have
But
any?
also one thing, but also, you know, it's also the matter of time, because sometimes it depends, you know, how quick the project needs to be delivered. I guess when it comes to feature films, there's much more time actually, you know, to think about is from where to get this, or how we can, you know, recycle, or can we reuse something, and to look for it. But like in commercials, sometimes, you know, the time to deliver is so short, such as short notice, that people just go straight forward, you know. And I guess time is also quite important in terms of, you know, how to make the things work more nicely and to not hurt, you know, our environment so much. And yeah.
I will expect some questions about this meeting, this issue from our audience, because we are also open for other questions. I'm not the only one to ask. If there is any question, please raise your hand and take the floor to ask it, because the set design is quite large issue. So perhaps there are some other questions I didn't ask. Yes, Adam.
Hello. Thank you very much for the discussion. And like, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, super.
Okay. Well, I wanted to ask whether you find there is a space for still like new manufacturers or like new products in the like film industry. I mean, how does really like cooperation between manufacturers and like filmmakers go? Like, how did you find the products, or like how does it really work?
Well, on my side, if I answer the first, there is it's difficult. It's just as Natalia was saying, we are always looking for new materials. We want to learn more about materials. And I was looking for example, for some wallpapers and some new wallpapers. And I was coming to a new enterprise from Vilnius. The name is EcoDeco, and we are doing a kind of foam wallpaper. So they are saying they are very green. It looks great. The question what I had, and normally you can let it print also in Europe in different places, but we have the same problem. We have to find an enterprise in different countries where they can do some print. So I was getting some stuff from the south of Germany, but then the machine was no more working, and then I can't get it anymore. So it's new, a new project. I know you can buy some of Amazon, you can buy it in some construction shop. For me, it's great, but in the same time, I can't use it properly. And a lot of this material, also like wood, you have some kind of wood like OSB wood, you have some straw inside. I know it from colleagues, and I'm trying to get it again. So when I'm contacting the enterprise directly, I can get some samples. But if I have to go on in the construction shop nearby, I'm asking for it, they can't get it. So I have really a problem, and I'm living in a big city. I'm living in Berlin. So I have a problem. I know what kind of product I can use, but most of the time I can't get it because it's too special, or I'm too small because my production, and this is one of the issue of the film industry, each production, we have a different number. And there is some enterprise. We are not a big enterprise who is always going to the huge shop. So we are going to the shop nearby. So we can't ask for the same stuff. If I'm Studio Babelsberg, or if I'm Barrandov Studio in the Czech Republic, probably This is where we can ask to get the good stuff, because we have to build a lot of stuff. So we have to work, not just us as a chief, we have to work with the suppliers who have sometimes the power to ask for better materials. And the rest is really some small research on each film. I'm looking for something particularly. And I'm trying it if it's working or not. Sometimes it's not working.
And Natalia, your experience? Is it easy to get what you want from the suppliers, from the manufacturers?
I would say it's a budget thing. I mean, related. Because when we speak about the ecological materials, it's also related to money. Of course, the waste materials doesn't cost much, but there are like a lot of new materials that, okay, they're like ecological, but also cost some money, sometimes much more. But as I said, all depends actually, that's why I said at the beginning that, for example, like working in theater makes difference, because then I had to think about that, okay, I can spend much more money because it needs to last for some years. And the same way, I can choose, better materials, like better quality. But when it comes like to short project, it's kind of like tricky actually, like to deal with this. So yeah, that's my experience.
Thank you. Do we have any other question? Thank you, Adam, for asking.
Yes.
Liang, yes, please.
I would like to ask for for sharing some. I would like to have a question about the food in the production design, because I think, for example, some scene need for like vegetable markets or some like dining kitchen scenes, and we will need a lot of food as a prompts. And how I would like to ask about your experience, like how you could manage to be more like green in this perspective.
Well, what I know is if I'm buying some new wood, I'm trying all the time to buy some old wood. This is the first step. If I'm in studio, I know there is some board. I'm trying to get it from another production before me. It means when I'm up, if somebody is asking me, we want to build in studio, then I will go directly on my computer and asking all my colleagues who was working in studio in the last weeks. I need 100 square meters or 200 square meters board. I'm agreed to send my guys to pick it up for my stuff. This is the first stuff. Then it depends what I want to build. For example, as I was working in the mountain 2 years ago, it was a film at the end of the First World War, and we were looking all the courtyard for a lot of people with my assistant just to get some old plinches, old wood, all the stuff. And when we were picking up from everywhere, we had a small truck and we were picking up from everywhere. So we were buying, I guess, very little new wood. This was a kind of way. It's sure if I'm doing a bigger film, then I will have to look, first of all, if it's FSC or PEFC wood. This is what I have from the beginning. I just have to speak with my construction manager or with the studio where I'm building, and I'm saying, for this film, there is no chance. We have to have PEFC, FSC. We have to get the certificate for this wood. This is no way to do it differently. Then we have to see, okay, what kind of wood I'm using. I know in some wood, if you have plain wood, or there is sometimes there is some exotic wood inside, if it's good or not. So you have only to think how to be better. if there is some glue inside or not. I'm always thinking for my crew, it's what I'm trying to get this kind of panels with the straw inside, because it's 20% lighter. So it means I can carry it. It's easier for me, for my body. Or I like to use a honeycomb if I can use it, but it's true I can just use it inside. But it's why we have really to be, as we used to do it in our work, we have to be very open and just to say, for this decoration, I will use this kind of wood, for this be another one. But we can't say, oh, I'm using for everything of this, always the same. And it's why we have to be, in a way, artist, and we have to be open to say, okay, on each problem, I have a kind of solution. I hope I could answer your question.
Yeah, I think it's also very helpful. And actually, I would like to make sure, because I was actually mentioned about food. Like,
food.
Food. Yes.
Oh, excuse me.
But wood also is important in the green perspective. Yes.
Well, about food, this is something I know it from Germany, and I hate it when they are always speaking about each person has to have his bottle. I'm thinking, yes, but I think that with the time we know that we have our bottle, we have to have it in our car. This is something that we have too, but this is for me the private stuff. When we are speaking about the art department and the food, I know that we have to speak about with the director. What are we seeing for food on the screen or not? And I'm trying not to use meat, and I'm just thinking, why do you need to see the big chicken in the center of the table? Do you need to see your actors and actress eating? It's awful to see an actor eating like this, and most of the time they don't want to eat so much. And it's why I'm just trying just to have some baked vegetables and to use as less as possible meat. But I'm trying to do it also to dress it perfectly. I'm French, so I'm trying not to do nouvelle cuisine, but I'm trying just to say, okay, you want to have something nice on the table, we can bring it to you, something nice, and something what it's easy also to eat. You know, if you have to have all the times one guy cutting the cake, the big cake all the time, I can understand you have one big cake for one scene, but you can't shoot it several times. It's like the fire, you know, it's not because it's just a cake that you have to shoot it 10 times. If you have to shoot with a gun, because each bullet costs money, then they will not shoot so much. Or if you have to shoot somebody and then you have to clean after it. So they will just shoot it 2 times, 3 times maximum. So I'm saying, then if you want to eat, then do it just 3 times. You don't need it to do it 20 times. So it means we don't have to kill 20 chicken for it. That's it.
And this is the important aspect of the film set and the design, that you are just selling a message, yes, and you are a role model drafting, yes. So what you show, the people will just aspire to. So this is also a kind of selling the new approach, not only by the way how we produce it, but also how we show the way of living. Natalia, please.
Yes, what I wanted to add actually, like my experience from the last year, when it comes to real food, I had to buy actually like 250 kilos of lemons, because there was one scene that, you know, the whole space was like covered with lemons, like cut it into slices, and not only. And actually, of course, we start to think, oh my gosh, do we really need that actually? But yes, at the end, of course, it was just like, you know, it covers not only not the whole set, but the rest was made like in post-production. Like, I mean, they multiply a lot. but still, like at the end of the shooting, there was a question mark. Okay, so what are we gonna do with such a waste? Because not all of it was cutted. There was like a lot of like lemons actually not get hurt. So, and then I started to talk with the producer, and we found out like one group that is called like Zero Waste Food. We are talking about Warsaw right now, and actually there's a group of people who are like searching actually among a lot of like like movie sets and all that crew, because there is like a lot of leftovers, not only like coming from the set itself, but also from the catering. And actually this group helps to take over and dispose into among like people who are in need as well. So this is something helpful. And actually, since I found these people, wherever we are working with food, and there is something as a leftovers, I mean, probably at first we are trying to give it to the whole crew, but if there is much more, then we are calling these people, and they know what to do with it, like best. So at least to not throw it out into the garbage and all that stuff, but like give a second life, and yeah, to feed other people as well. So that's my experience from last year.
But it's sure, I just want to complete. It's just when we know we will have to buy a lot of food, it's like as we want to build a big set, we have in the same way to think what is happening at the end with all of this. If we have some rest, it is reasonable, it is not reasonable, how to do it as best. Are we doing that fake? But when if it's fake, it's okay or not. What do we want to explain? What do we have? What is the big issue? What we have to see really from near, what we can see from far away. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not possible. And sometimes we have really to speak. Do we need to buy 300 or 500 or 1 ton fish just to have a market? And because we want to have a slapstick and the bad guy is falling in the middle of all fish in the middle of the market. Is it reasonable or not?
Yeah, as you said, like, the first thing is like, to discuss this, like on many levels. And then if not, then we need to find like different solution. But if it happens like, to buy it like a lot of, then of course I need to start like thinking, okay, so what we should do after, because, I cannot stay, I cannot throw it out. And at least, somehow, I can solve some percent of the issue. Yeah.
Rem, you are hand raised. Yes, please.
I want to tell about my found experience in theater. We had a theater play for 5 years or something like that in Oberhausen Theater here in Germany. And we had a big scene with a big table. It's full of food and vegetables, meat, chicken, with wine and something like that. And we have many shows, maybe maybe for 3 weeks or something like that. But we don't want to buy the food every night for the show, so we made there's in the storage already in this theater or always plastic food, and we bring some, and there's some people who make patina. They make it really like real, and we buy it for the actor. There's just one actor who want to eat a steak of chicken, and every day we buy just this small one for this actor, and all of them, it was just a decoration, and we give it back to a store after the show. I don't know if it's helpful.
Yes, it's good to have a fake reusable thing, but sometimes it's difficult. Yes, so just to choose the a kind of juste milieu. Yes, how you call it in English? I don't know. Yes, the compromise between all your condition, because as Olivier said, we have a time issue, we have sustainability issue, we have money issue to satisfy, and also an artistic effect. So this is a art to combine all these factors and create something which will impress and give a nice result. I don't know if we have still questions, but we are going to the end of our meeting. It was really pleasure. If we have still a question, this is the last chance to ask the question to our guests. But I see only Natalia and Rem having hands raised. Yeah.
No, actually, it was like from the previous question.
Yes, the old
Sorry.
one.
That's the old hand.
So I would like to thank you. I will mute, yeah, because I think it's Rem Eho. Thank you for this meeting. I think it gave a lot of insight on the set production and set design and how we can just be open for ongoing practice research during our work, and just looking and exploring new opportunities, new solutions, and be open for the new approach, but also to come to our roots, yes, and use the materials our grandmothers used during their work, and based on the experience of the experienced staff. Like Olivier said, from the old departments of French, yes, French from 20th century, and also follow the path of the pioneers, of this one who experimented and have a knowledge to disseminate and teach a new generation of production designers. Yes. So thank you. It's the last meeting of our season, because we have seasons. You are muted, Olivier. It was the last meeting of our season, because we have spring and autumn season of our meeting. So the next season will be in autumn semester, next academic year. We will be happy to host you also during this meeting, and have a nice summertime, because it's almost summertime, and exam season for someone. So good luck, and see you the next academic year. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.